everyone, welcome to Aegis Moto Adventures. In this episode, I'm going to be doing an installation and review of the Baja Squadron Pro Lights. These are really high quality lights, and so let me go show you what the kit comes with. The kit comes with two lights. You can buy them individually or in a kit. I purchased two of them, and it also comes with the hardware to mount it on crash bars or 7/8 of an inch type bars, mounting brackets, and assortment of hardware here to mount them, extra wire connectors, the instruction manual, and down here are the wiring harnesses. And the wiring harness, the main wiring harness here comes with the connectors, relay switch. These here tap into the headlight positive and negative, and this here I believe is for the power connection, which leads to this cable, which has the power connectors, and the connector here also with a 10 amp fuse. The company stated that it draws about 6.2 or 6.3 amps with the lights. And then if you so are inclined, it comes with an on and off switch if you want to be able to manually control the light, and you just put that in line with one of the positive leads. For those of you who might not be familiar, this is a relay switch, and most relay switches are electromagnetic switches. When the switch is powered, it activates the circuit for the device that you want to have turned on. And the reason for the relay switch is this particular lead here of the main wiring harness is intended to tap into the high beam of your headlights. And so that means that the Baja lights that you're adding as auxiliary lights will only come on with the high beam. So this is used to tap into the high beam positive and negative. And then when the high beam is turned on, it activates the relay switch, which activates your Baja auxiliary lights. Because I want the Baja lights to come on when I want them to come on and independently of the high beam, I'm going to wire these lights just a little bit differently. I'm going to try to put them on a accessory circuit that comes on that's tied into the ignition of the bike, which will means it'll turn the lights on and off when the bike is on and off. But I'm also going to put the inline switch in so that I can turn it off manually. So I won't be running the lights all the time the bike's running unless I actually need them. The first thing I've done is gone ahead and put Sumo in the chock and strapped down, so I've got a stable bike to work with. I've also kind of leveled the bike up so that it'll help me level the mounting hardware for the lights so that those are level too, so that I start out with a consistent base. I think that'll make it easier for me to adjust the lights later on. I've also gone ahead and take the tank bag off and the seat off so that I have access to the wiring. If you're going to do a direct wire to your battery, then you'll also need to uncover your battery. To mount the bar clamps on, you'll need a 4mm Allen wrench and some Loctite. And what's really nice here is if you see almost where the center hole is, there's a little set screw there. That set screw is intended to allow you to swivel the actual neck bracket that is bolted onto this so that you can rotate it at 45-degree increments. That'll help you level your lights up just a little bit, and that set screw keeps it from pivoting around that center screw. I have the first set of bar clamps on now, and they've been leveled up, which should help make aiming the lights later on a little bit easier. I ran into an issue. The mounts that come with the kit are intended for this particular bracket to face this way, but that's sideways. In other words, this is intended to be mounted on a forward-facing part of the crash bar. So I'm going to have to get a spacer that will allow this to sit up higher so that I can face it forward. So I'm going to have to wait a few days until the part comes in. After a 2-day wait, I finally got my little aluminum spacer that's going to go right here, which will allow me to take the bracket and sit the bracket higher up, and then I will be able to pivot the light this direction, and then the light itself will be able to pivot on these two pivot points here on either side of the bracket. So I want to paint these little spacers before I install them, so I'm going to be using the etching primer again because it's aluminum, and then I'll be using some gloss black to match the rest of the hardware. One of the things I've done to prep the spacer for painting is I've gone ahead and put a bolt through it and a nut on it to lock it in, and then insert it in a drill, and then spun it while I ran some sandpaper over the top of it. That scuffs the surface a little bit, and that'll give the paint a little bit better adhesion. I have the primer on the spacers now, but since this is kind of a review of this product also, I think at this point it's fair to say that I feel like these spacers should be included in the kit. They're not that expensive, and for what you pay for these lights, adding a couple of aluminum spacers to accommodate different installations would be negligible in the overall cost of it for the business. So I really believe these should be included in the price. Because I am using the spacer, that means that the supplied 3/8 inch bolt is not long enough, and so I had to purchase a new 3/8 inch bolt that's longer to accommodate the spacer. Again, this easily could be rectified in the kit if they would so choose. They could put a slightly longer bolt in the kit and it would work for either one. If you used it in one application, the bolt would just extend a little bit longer and could be cut off if the end user doesn't like that sticking out, but it would still be long enough to accommodate the spacer. Again, this is something that they should be able to anticipate and have that in the kit at no additional cost. One of the things the kit did not come with was a lock washer for the 3/8 inch bolts. Without lock washers, this mount here would be able to pivot under vibration because there's nothing that locks it in position. So I went ahead and got some internal tooth lock washers. And the way I'm installing these is the bolt's 1.5 inches, which is longer. And whoops, I bumped that there. You can see it just is right at the edge of the nut here. So the length of it is correct for what I want to do. And I put in a flat washer, an internal tooth lock washer, then the bracket, then the spacer, and between the spacer and the next washer is the mount here, and then a flat washer, internal tooth lock washer, and then the Nyla lock nut here. I had to think about the name, but it's a nylon locking nut. So it creates a double locking mechanism here, which I'm a big fan of, since you can't use blue Loctite for this application because it would damage the nylon. So having the internal tooth locking washer and the nylon locking nut creates a double lock there. So this will lock this piece in and prevent it from vibrating under normal circumstances. Now, if it got whacked really hard, I'm sure this might twist, but it would take quite a bit. The kit comes with, I believe it's a 6mm screw with already some type of thread locker on it, and an external tooth locking washer. And those washers are placed on either side here of the bracket, with the locking washer between the bracket and the light itself. And in order to, I wanted these to have a little bit of a down angle. So from the face of the light, I gave it a 1/2 bubble down angle. That way it will help with the road right in front of the bike and off to the side, because they're aimed a little bit away from the motorcycle as well as down just a little bit. This will be a good starting point for me. If I like it, then I nailed it on the first try. If not, we'll have to adjust it just a little bit. The lights are installed now, and they're basically aiming straight forward to the best of my ability in doing that, and at a slight down angle. So hopefully this will get me in the ballpark of where I want to be for adjustment. I wanted to revisit the wiring harness here, and I think I have it figured out now, and I wanted to share that information with you on how these lights would normally be wired according to the kit instructions. This is the lead-in of the positive and negative. This part of the wiring harness is the tap-in to your existing headlight wiring so that it will activate the switch. And then these two leads are what plug in to the lights themselves. So if I go to this part of the wiring harness, which is an auxiliary piece here, this wire connects into this connector, and then you have a negative and positive with a 10 amp breaker here, or fuse, excuse me, not a breaker, but a fuse. And then these wire directly to the battery. And if you so choose to put a manual switch on it as well, then you have this other piece, which you pull these connectors apart and insert this in on the positive lead from the battery, and then you can turn it on and off manually with this switch. That is not how I'm going to wire it on my bike, and I'll show you what I'm going to do now. On Sumo, or the KTM 790 Adventure R, what I want to do is wire this so it is on an ignition circuit, and they do have auxiliary circuits on the bike already to go. And I just had to confirm that it's a 10 amp circuit, which it is, to be able to run the lights. So I am going to eliminate the tap in to the headlight high beam, and I'm going to eliminate the switch because I don't need those in the application of which I'm going to wire the bike. What I have done here is I have separated the wiring harness portion that is part of the relay switch into the tap in to the high beam on the light. So the in power, it was this red wire, and the out power from the switch was these two white wires, which were the positive that go to the lights. So now, in order to run power to the lights, I need to connect all three of these wires together. I went ahead and twisted these together, but I also went ahead and put some solder on it so that it's a nice strong connection. And I'll put some heat shrink tubing on here to protect the connection a little bit, and then I'll tape it all up, and then I'll have a nice little Y connector here that will go from underneath the seat out to the lights. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I've got heat shrink on it now and a little zip tie, and then I'll cover that whole connection with tape to make that completely sealed up. What I've done is I've gone ahead and made put the two connectors together, and they are behind this panel. I took a zip tie here to hold the wiring from the light down so that doesn't get snagged on anything. And the wire that runs underneath here is zip tied here. And then I've got both leads here to the connector that come out underneath the seat. The switch wiring wasn't long enough for the application, so I clipped some of the wiring off of the other harness for the power side of it, and went ahead and spliced it here. And I did the same thing. I went ahead and soldered the two wires together then individually put heat shrink on them, and then put heat shrink all the way around the outside here to make that a good seal there. And then I also, let me walk back over here to the bike. I ran my fishtail through the bike here and put this little bit of light cord in there, and I'll use that to pull my wiring through back to the seat. I went ahead and attached the switch here to the tower. That way I don't have to worry about any slack. If it's on the handlebar, you have to worry about a lot of slack, and I don't have a lot of wiring. And this seemed like a good place to mount it because I can easily get to it. I then went ahead and put a zip tie right down in there. That little black line is a zip tie where I zip tied it to the frame to keep it from moving around. And I also went ahead and used this cord here, electric taped it to it, and pulled it along the frame and behind this particular panel here so I can get it up underneath the seat where my final wiring connections are going to occur. I went ahead and finished the wiring. I just used some connectors and got it wired into the accessory circuit here. Let me show you how it works. Because it's on an ignition switch, you have to turn the ignition on, and then to turn the lights on you press the switch, and voila, you have lights. Of everything that came with the kit, the only thing I have left over are these spare connectors, which will be nice to have, but I didn't need for the installation. The wiring harness portion that hooks into the high beam headlight power with the relay switch, and then just a short piece here with the fuse in it. I didn't need that because I put it on a fuse circuit on the bike, so it wasn't necessary to duplicate that. Here is what the low beam with the Aurora Rally kit looks like, and I'll just move it up a notch here with the new Baja lights that I just installed. I'll turn those on and you can see what the difference is. And you can see that's what it looks like with the new Baja lights, which is exactly what I wanted it to do. I don't even think I'll have to readjust them. And then to turn the high beam on, that's what it looks like. So it really makes a huge difference. So this lighting is going to work perfectly for what I'd like it to do. Well, the installation is done, and throughout the video I kind of gave you the plus and minuses of the things I ran into, and I believe these lights are going to really make a big difference. I'm going to try to get some footage yet tonight that I'll insert before this portion to show you exactly what the lights do. If I can film at that dark level, I don't know whether I'll be able to. But hopefully you like this installation video. And the lights, I actually have a pretty good review of them. They were not difficult to install. I did have to do some customization that I thought the company should have to put those parts in there, because I think it'll make the application of the lights easier for people that want to do something a little differently than the way they have it mapped out. But other than that, they're really high quality lights and they light up the night. Well, hopefully you like this video, and if you did, please give it the big thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Until next time, take care.